My name is John Charles, President of Cascade Policy Institute, a nonprofit policy research entity. And I'm not usually in the habit of defending public employee unions, but I am going to do that today to some degree, because I think the storyline that has emerged and is being told repeatedly from TriMet on the current budget situation, the storyline namely is that the current problem wouldn't exist if the ATU contract had been modified and made more reasonable over the past 15 years, is inaccurate and not particularly helpful. First, it's inaccurate because the ATU contract is only half the problem. Capital construction is the other half, and you or anyone from TriMet rarely talks about that in public. And second, you don't really have much control over the contract. The horses are long out of the barn. Your predecessors agreed to unsustainable terms over the last 20 years. You're sitting waiting around for a May 15th arbitration hearing. You have no leverage. So it comes across as whining to talk about that all the time. The one handout that's been passed around is from your 20-year forecast. Senior lien debt, which is obviously rising. It's a very uncomfortable trend. And it's a function of rail construction cost. Who has control over that? All 7 of you. Exclusive control over that going forward in the future. Senior lien debt, that's what senior liens are placed on your future revenues by Wall Street bondholders when you sell payroll tax bonds. And they don't care about your little problem here in Portland. They don't care if your service drops to 0. When payroll tax money comes in, they're going to get paid. That's all they care about. And so you look at the debt for this year, it's about $17 million. Just conveniently, that's about the problem you're facing next year. It jumps to $30 million next year. Money you're not going to get. Imagine if your predecessors hadn't piled up this debt that you're inheriting. Imagine how much service expansion you could have right now. So I guess my point here, and if you haven't looked at pages 33 to 36 of your audit carefully where this is discussed, all of the payroll tax debt, you should. So next year, unless you've advanced it and I didn't know about it, next year, in the next 3 years, you're going to sell bonds totaling $60 million for the Milwaukee project. So in debt service terms, that's probably over $100 million that'll be onto this. My point is, to wrap it up, is you've asked the ATU to do something very unnatural, which is to get back, make some concessions. You have total control over something. When are you going to make the hard decision to deal with this debt issue? Because if you don't model that leadership, then the 2 of you are going to be stuck in some bizarre mutual suicide pact while the whole agency goes down the drain. So I strongly suggest that you have a work session in the future to study more the issue of capital construction and debt service, and consider pulling the plug entirely on your rail construction program, including the $60 million that you are scheduled to sell in the next 3 years, because you have 7 votes that control that decision. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Good job.